What's going on, YouTube? This is your host, Omari, back with another episode of the Student Athlete Show. And right now we're coming with a progress report for the NBA Finals. The series is tied 1-1, heading back to the East Coast to Boston. The Celtics were able to steal Game 1 in the Golden State, and then the Warriors went ahead and took Game 2, handled business like they were supposed to. So I made 3 points of emphasis for each team going into the finals. We're going to touch on how the teams are doing with those. We're going to do a deeper dive on some of Game 2. But before that, I'm just going to give you all my overall takeaways so far. So, as far as Game 1, I did think that with the Warriors having such a long layoff heading into the NBA Finals, and with the Celtics coming through 2.5 really tough series, that they would really have a chance to take Game 1 away. And they did that. Now, Game 2 came, and I think everyone would agree that the Warriors had to win Game 2. So they were coming out with a lot of intensity. They had the home crowd rallied up, and the Celtics, in a lot of ways, I feel like gave that game away. Now, some good things for the Boston Celtics. We still haven't seen Jason Tatum have that top-flight elite performance that we expect from him. And we also haven't seen Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown play at their highest level at the exact same time for more than about a quarter or so. So after the first 2 games, I do think things are looking very up for the Celtics, more up than they were heading into the series. The thing that I do think I've learned after these first 2 games is that the Boston Celtics may be a better team than the Golden State Warriors, at their peak that is. And I think their ability to reach that peak and sustain that throughout the series will be the telling tale. So, getting into the Boston Celtics points of emphasis. The first point of emphasis I had for them going into the finals was their consistency in shooting. Like I said, Jason Tatum still hasn't had that elite performance, and I think that's a good thing for the Celtics. Being able to say that you're heading back to Boston 1-1 and your best player still hasn't played up to that yet is really promising. But it's also a little bit scary thinking that Jason Tatum might just not have anything in the tank this finals. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown also haven't played at their elite level at the same time. I think the only time that you could say that they did that may have been the first quarter of Game 2, and that was a quarter where they both scored 13 points. However, the Celtics turned the ball over 7 times, but still managed to finish the first quarter only down by 1 point. Another guy that I was looking at heading into the series was Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart, heading into the finals, I thought it was really important for him to be cool, calm, and collected as the team's point guard. And I thought it was really important for him to have really good shot selection. Now, we've seen him be very productive on offense throughout the playoffs, but at the end of the Miami Heat series, I did see Marcus Smart try to put the cape on a few too many times and kind of step out of his boundaries a little bit. And I think he's done a really good job staying contained in what he does on the offensive end. But I would like to see Marcus Smart be more assertive. He only took 6 shots in Game 2. I believe he took 18 shots in Game 1. And I do think with Steph Curry being one of his primary defenders a lot of the time, that it's important for Marcus Smart to take that extra step on offense, be assertive. I would like to see Marcus Smart go at Steph Curry a little bit more. Now, being aggressive with Steph Curry doesn't mean that he's going to be hoisting up shots just because he can, or that he's going to be looking for his shot and hunting his shot every possession. But I do want to see them challenge Steph Curry a little bit more on defense and really make him work and tire him out a little bit. Now, with Jason Tatum being their primary scorer on offense, I think it's important to note that while in Game 1, Jason Tatum did have what I would consider a terrible shooting night, 3 for 17, only had 12 points. Offensively, at the naked eye, you would think that was one of his worst games of the postseason so far. However, Jason Tatum was able to have 13 assists on only 2 turnovers on offense. 13 assists being a career high for Jason Tatum, and the assist to turnover ratio was great. Now, I have been a little bit of a critic earlier in the playoffs, and I don't want you guys to think that I don't like Jason Tatum. I am a fan of Jason Tatum, And the thing is that I want to see more from him. So that's why I've been a little bit critical. My criticism of Jason Tatum has been that when he is having those off shooting nights, Jason Tatum really lets his offensive ability and his offensive consistency dictate how he performs in the other areas of his game. So, in previous performances, when Jason Tatum hasn't shot well, we've also seen him be a little bit careless with the ball. We've seen him not be super attentive on defense. And I think it's important to notice that in game one, he didn't allow that to happen. Jason Tatum was having a bad shooting night from the get go, and he didn't let that force him into shot hunting, didn't let that force him into heat checking. He wasn't turning the ball over, and he was still really outstanding on defense. And I think that's the biggest difference between game one and game two. Game two was a little bit better on the offensive end. Jason Tatum was 8 for 19, still not where I'd like to see him, but a better shooting performance than game one. But in game two, you did see his cage get a little bit rattled, turn the ball over a few more times, and just overall not making a lot of great decisions and halting the offense for the Celtics. The second key emphasis I have for the Celtics for the NBA Finals was to hunt out Steph Curry and Jordan Poole when they're on defense. I said that Jordan Poole needs to have more points scored on him than points that they allow him to score, and I think the Celtics have done a really good job on that. I believe Jordan Poole was only 2 for 7 in game one, and then he finished game two 6 or 7 for 14, but a lot of the damage that he did do in game two was coming at the end of the third quarter where the Warriors were just finishing and running the Celtics out of the gym. And you could kind of feel that the game was already crumbling and a little bit out of reach. He did a little bit more damage in the fourth quarter, but at that point, the Celtics had kind of already called the dogs off. So I think they're doing a great job limiting him, but I would like to see them hunt him out more on defense. The same thing with Steph Curry. I see a lot of possessions where Marcus Smart brings the ball up the court, and Steph Curry is his primary defender, but instead of maybe getting into a little bit of pick and roll, maybe attack Steph off the dribble, I'm seeing him bring the ball up the court and get rid of it immediately and let some other guys work on offense. Then I'm seeing a lot of possessions where Marcus Smart is ending up over in the corner and they're just letting Steph Curry babysit him. And if they do let Steph Curry be a little bit laxed on defense, that's when he's going to be able to get down on the offensive end and be more explosive. And Steph Curry is one of those guys where when he's explosive, everyone around him begins to erupt too, along with the crowd. So they really need to make him work more on defense, and I think the Celtics will be able to find a lot of success that way. Because I also mentioned in my finals preview that the Warriors have not been as used to the Celtics playing really late into games and battling all the way until the end. We saw in game one, the game was close most of the way, and then when you got down to the stretch, the Warriors didn't really have an answer for the Celtics. Game two looked more like a stereotypical Warriors win, where the Warriors come out, they battle a little bit in the first half, but they come out at halftime and they really start to pour it on in the third quarter. And they pour it on so much that you start to drown. And that's what they did to the Celtics in game two. Now, my third point of emphasis for the Celtics was that they're going to have to defend home court. They've lost 2 home games in their last 2 series in the playoffs, and defending home court is going to be really big for the Celtics because we've seen how hard it is for them to go get wins in Golden State, and we're not going to want the Celtics to need more than one more win, hopefully not any more than that in Golden State. You want to get things done back home so that you don't have to go get a win at Golden State, which can be a tall task at points. Now, the points of emphasis I had for the Golden State Warriors were figuring out their rotation and staying healthy. And I think that they've done a great job in this area so far in the finals. Gary Payton Jr. has returned in game two, and he did look really great out there. Had 7 points, only took 3 shots from the field, but he made all of them. He didn't have any turnovers, and he was really good on defense. That's exactly what they need from him. Other guys like Otto Porter have been playing amazing off the bench. And the Warriors have done a really good job staying healthy for the most part. Now, Klay Thompson has not looked like himself. Um, you see him not getting the catch and shoot that he's used to, which is the Celtics doing a really good job on defense, probably the best defensive team in the league, at least for the second half of the season. And you see that bothering Klay Thompson. He's not finishing at the rim. You saw him smoke quite a few open layups on Sunday, and I believe he only knocked down 1 3 in that game. So Klay's legs just really don't look like they're there for him, and it's going to be interesting seeing how his production progresses throughout the series. Now, you also saw Steph Curry not playing at all in the fourth quarter of Game 2, which is really scary for the Celtics because that means Wednesday, Steph Curry is going to come out and he's going to be really fresh and really ready to go, pouring some more buckets down in Boston. And that's another reason why they need to make him work on defense. Because if Steph's working on defense, he's not going to be explosive on offense. And that's going to help the Celtics be able to keep the games close if they are trailing and really be able to challenge the Warriors as things get down the stretch. The Warriors are scariest when they don't need to show up in the fourth quarter. The second point of emphasis I have for the Golden State Warriors was limiting the mistakes and being able to incite a lot of mistakes on the part of the Celtics. And Game 2 could not have been a better example of this. The Warriors were able to score 33 points off of turnovers on the Celtics, by the Celtics. And I do believe they said that that is the second most points off turnovers that a team has scored in the finals in the last 25 years. Now, will the Celtics do that again? Hopefully not, but they have looked like a really young team so far in the finals, and they are. So hopefully they can do a lot of growing up within the next few days because they're really going to need it. And then the last point of emphasis I have for the Warriors was the Steph Curry and Marcus Smart matchup. Now, I think Marcus Smart has been doing a really great job limiting Steph Curry. He had 34 points in Game 1, but only 21 of those points were in the first quarter, and his production really fell off after that first quarter. In Game 2, you saw Steph Curry get 29 points, but he was on 8 for 19 shooting, I believe, and he hasn't been able to really get off for more than like small stretches. They have been limiting his production a little bit, but a real big thing for Steph Curry is the timing of his buckets. He's had a lot of dagger buckets, sword buckets, all types of weapons. And in the late third quarter, you saw Steph Curry, he hit the fadeaway in the right wing towards the end of the quarter, and you saw him kind of relax his shoulders, look over at the crowd, and kind of say, "We got this." And those guys feel that when Steph Curry is feeling that kind of vibe. So it's really big to limit him in the big moments. I mentioned earlier in the video that the Celtics were only down 1 point after the first quarter. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown both had 13 points, but the Celtics had 7 turnovers in that first quarter. If the Celtics don't have those 7 turnovers, they're looking pretty comfortable going into the second quarter of that game too. And if they don't continue to have 19 turnovers, I think they finished with, the Celtics could easily be heading back to Boston up 2-0 with their best player not looking like himself. Now, the Celtics finished the Game 2 on Sunday with 15 steals. And I think something like 9 or 10 guys made appearances in the game. Only 8 guys were really playing meaningful minutes. When you have 15 steals by about 8 guys, averaging 2 steals on a guy per game, the Celtics are not going to be able to make this a competitive series if they can't take care of the ball. The Warriors live off of that energy that they gain from turning the other team over. And that's how they go on those 8-0, those 11-0 or more runs. And the Celtics, honestly, might not have the three-point shooting consistently to be able to return from those kind of blunders. You also saw Jason Tatum in Game 2 have a minus 36 plus-minus score. Now, minus 36 is the lowest plus-minus by a finals player in the last 20 years that they've been keeping the statistic. And while he had an okay performance on offense, Jason Tatum's shot selection was a bit more questionable in game 2 than it was in game 1, despite him shooting a better percentage from the floor. The Celtics offense in game 2 was really looking out of character. You saw a little bit more isolation basketball than you would want from those guys, and there was just a lot of standing around and staring. Now, Klay Thompson has also been a little bit non existent, and with him not being the guy that we're used to him being, with Steph Curry playing well but not out of his mind, I do really think at this point that this might be the Celtics series to lose. Now, in game 2, the Celtics lost the third quarter to the Warriors by 21 points. Hey, fellow students and athletes. So, while editing this video, I decided that it was getting a little bit long, and I actually like the way that it fits as 2 separate videos. So if you're interested in my third quarter breakdown from game 2, I'm going to tag it down below in the comments or in the bio, or I might get good enough at this YouTube stuff to throw the video up here or something. So you'll know where to see it. I'll let you know at the end, and swing over there if you're interested. Thanks for watching up to this point. You see a lot of really small tic-tac mistakes in that third quarter where the Celtics are just kind of out to lunch a little bit. Kind of felt like they were playing with house money. We're up 1-0 on the Warriors. We already did what we had to do in Golden State. We stole home court advantage. And it just really looked like they were giving the Warriors that game in the third quarter. A 21-point difference in the quarter looks really dominant from the Warriors, but going back this morning and watching the game again, it just didn't really feel that way. It was kind of like the Warriors in shoot around and the Celtics just letting them do what they do. So, like I said, I feel good about the Celtics going back to Boston. I'm more certain now than I was at the beginning of the series that at their peak, I do think the Celtics are a better team than the Warriors. So it's just going to really be about who can limit the mistakes and who's able to take advantage of what's out there for them on both ends of the floor. Now, I had Warriors in 7, and I think I'm going to stick with it. The reason I originally picked the Warriors was that the Celtics have not shown that they can put together back-to-back-to-back games of just really sound basketball. They're a really talented team, but mentally, it does not look like they're there. And Jason Tatum, love the skill, love the game, man, but I think Jason Tatum does need to focus more on being Jason Tatum than going out there and trying to be Kobe or somebody else. So we'll see what happens on Wednesday. We'll see what happens on Friday. And next time we're headed to Golden State, I think we'll have a much better picture on how this series is going to end up looking. So tune in. If you didn't catch the last video, go clean up on that and make sure you're well equipped to tune into this next game of the NBA Finals. Look out for more content coming soon. Let me know how you guys are feeling after 2 games in the comment section. And like and subscribe to get more of this, okay? Peace.